Welcome to the Writing with AI podcast, the global leader in podcasts devoted to the Writing with AI subreddit. In every episode, my co-moderator Yoav Yariv and I talk to people who are really pushing the boundaries of writing, filmmaking, and AI. In this episode, it is the second of two episodes of our conversation with the founders of Machine Cinema, Fred Grinstein and Minh. In the last one, we dug into the future of writing with AI for film and TV. In this episode, we talk a lot about the future of AI filmmaking and the role of writers in that new world. So let's rejoin our conversation with Fred Grinstein and Minh.
I think you mentioned we're now having this value unit of 2 hours film. And this is something that this is what we've been doing for almost actually 100 years, a bit more. And now we have new technology, new medium might be created because of it, new way of consuming content. So what I'm wondering as a writer, that let's say I have, this 20 screenplays that haven't been produced, and I'm thinking about, okay, I want to jump in this new medium. From your perspective, what do you see? Like the obvious thing is short form content, because these are things that AI is much better at. But this is the new medium that you're seeing? Should writers maybe start writing 1-minute shorts? Is there new fields, new mediums, new way of interactive storytelling that we're not seeing as writer and you guys see?
I mean, Minh has a lot to say about this. I'll just say that even implicit to your question is there's sort of where is it possible creatively, and just the fun art school answer of just like, let's just be creative and then discover the marketplace. And then there's where's the marketplace, which might be two ways to frame that to a group of writers that I think are feeling that pressure. But Minh, I don't know if you would disagree even with that point, but I know you've a lot of visions for where things are going.
Like the new vision of creativity, like where creativity.
Like what types of mediums are emerging for a writer? Like I think whether it's the interactive stuff that you've been very bullish on, the gaming tsunami that's probably coming next year.
Maybe I'll try to rephrase it a bit simply. If I'm a writer and I want to jump in this new medium, should I start writing 1-minute shorts? That's what should I focus on? There are new ways that I should write is it going to be a screenplay? Is it going to be a totally new different medium? Like, as a writer in this new field, what should I expect? What should I do? What should I try?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, I do feel that, we got micro dramas, and then you have, social video, I think is still, even pre-AI, I feel that social video has still not been exploited enough by writers, honestly.
What's social video?
and-
As a dumb.
Yeah, what
like
do you mean
TikTok. Like TikTok. Like I don't think there are enough writers, like serious writers, who are approaching TikTok seriously. And maybe microdramas provides that kind of financial model for writers to actually get into that. But I also think that in the next year, my theory is that games are going to go through the same arc as they went through in 2025 for video. And so what does it mean when it's so much easier for me to create a game, for me to create a gamified experience, to gamify anything, to even gamify like a normal website, just because it's just so easy to vibe code it. So what does that mean for me when I'm creating something? Am I going to create more interactive experiences that feel like games? Am I going to create things that allow the audience to go down their own path, but within the story that I created, within the world that I created? Should writers be thinking more about worlds? I don't know that XR is coming quite yet. I still has some issues, but I do think that 3D is, I've been debating with some of our creator friends where they're like, they just love these node-based workflows, right? And I get it. They're infinite canvas node-based workflows. If you don't not familiar, it's basically you can like create a whole architecture of nodes and then essentially professionals are using this to like immediately create a video off of an image that they created. It's a whole matrix of things, right? And I'm like, if kids these days are playing with Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox, wouldn't they come to expect a 3D experience, even if it's not on an XR thing? It's just in a 3D environment in my phone or my laptop. What does that mean for creation? What kind of creation do they expect? What kind of creative models do they expect? And as a result, what kind of stories and worlds do they expect? So I don't know. I think it's a very wide world. It's a hard question to answer, but I do think that we are rapidly proceeding into a place where it's just so easy to create entire worlds, like of
And
just of a thought.
I think that's the right way to answer it too, is that it's at some point, what are the market signals that are worth paying attention to? We mentioned microdramas. Some people call them even short form. Some people call it vertical video. I think the Fox, they just made a big play on Holy Water, and they're even openly talking about it in conferences that maybe this is a format for unscripted, meaning that it isn't just soap operas. It could be literally any type of story. Is now, are we finding a user experience? And that's a discovery stage. Again, we haven't confirmed that market trend. That you're just starting to see some very aggressive investor level players in the ecosystem commenting on it. So I think it's hard to ignore that microdrama, short form video, vertical video trend has a thing behind it. A guy who we interact with in our community, PJ Ace, is sort of a very interesting creator who's built a whole advertising business off of some of the recent sort of technologies. But I bring him up because he posted something yesterday I thought was interesting and again, it's just a thesis and take it for what it's worth. But he's just saying, okay, look, for the next 6 to 9 months, the quality of video is reaching that point that, so much is suddenly possible. And that might create those cataclysms a lot of people have about how is video made. But specifically about writing, his comment was like, look, for now, make that money, go make those commercials. But he's predicting that in the next 9 months, we're going to get to the point that all those brands that have just been making quick spots will recognize the value of serialized story in their content. That commercials will start to be written in short form 3-minute bursts. So that's one person in the marketplace very literally saying, here's a prediction to your question. But I think to Min's point is what I feel more deeply. I remember being at a television network watching my younger assistants not get my cultural references anymore because they and their entire generation had departed and lived inside of YouTube, where they had different types of jokes, different types of famous people, different types of things that started to define a format, an experience that clearly is more than ascendant. It's fully dominating all of television right now. I feel that way acutely about what Min just said about a generation of young people who are growing up not even watching YouTube. They're playing Fortnite, they're playing Minecraft, they're playing Roblox. And to think that those people just grow up and now like old, long movies, or that and again, I'm just giving you a market reaction. I don't expect anybody who loves writing movies to suddenly love Roblox. But if the question you're asking is, how do I make money writing? You can't ignore that there's and go look at the numbers of users on Roblox. It's a lot, and keep going down Minecraft. So think to yourself, how does that generation of consumers inhabit worlds? How do they inhabit story? How do they follow those things? And that is a business answer to this question. And I think everybody should be paying attention to that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think AI is going to enable, just like earlier we were talking about, how does it change the way we create, right? My point is that, writers can be more like producers and directors are going to be more like writers. There's going to be this intermixing, I think, this blending of what, and even in small ways, right? Like I can participate a little bit in the creative process, or another person's creative process. Is that, that kind of blending or that intermixing also going to be true for the user's experience? Where if I can create a game and a video and a feature film even, and a web experience and all of that all at once, or very easily across these different medium, what is it going to be like for me as the user to experience something that can be just as intermingled or interoperable? And so like, what does it mean for me as a user that, hey, I consumed something on a vertical drama, microdrama, and then I later watched it as a feature film, and then I later played it as a game, and then when because that already happens, right? You got Last of Us, right? There's Witcher, there's plenty of that, moving in all the directions already. AI is going to supercharge that.
Fred one, isn't this like I've heard Fred, when you told me like this is part of your thesis, right? You create a short drama and you push them to the feature film, then maybe you pitch them to the game. This is like what you imagine.
Yeah, Min and Fred, what you're both talking about, I think, is what actually is real right now, which is if you want a return on the investment toward creating a story, right? So you might just be a writer and you're just doing stuff and you just want to have enough return for you or for you and your friends, or maybe you're Sony and you want a massive return on your investment for a world that you're investing in. You're going to be looking at kind of like, okay, where will people pay money for this? And it could very well be that somebody might say, oh, remember when people used to say, I didn't read the book, but I saw the movie? Now it'll be, I didn't see the movie, but I played the game, or I played the game, but I haven't read the book, or I read the book, but I love the book, but I don't want to do the interactive thing, or I followed the account on TikTok for 30 days because it was hilarious how they played it out. And all of those things would exist. And you don't have to do I think what happened in this kind of multimedia world of media in the 2000s is always like, oh, we'll drive them to here and then they'll do this and then they'll do this. But it's a circle and people can choose one or the other or some group of things. And for writers, you are the architect. You're creating the blueprint for all of the ways that the IP can be exploited.
But I think how do I feel about this in terms of where does the next generation of entertainment industry, how does it define itself? I feel it, look, as a member of this current iteration from the last 20 years of my career, 25 years, I think I and many people in my cohort benefited from a universe where in general, all these role plays of like, I'm the sound designer, I'm the writer, I'm this, like all these things still fit inside this very safe ecosystem of a production that had a lot of these economics figured out. And I think YouTube, Netflix, streaming, again, go read our friend Doug Shapiro. These effects have been in play for a while. And there are new things called the creator economy that aren't even new. They're established at this point. That I think the role of somebody who wants to be creative and make money in society doesn't get to just say, can somebody figure out the economics? I just want to go in my role and be creative here. If you still have that job, look, I go to school, my kids go to school, there's parents there that still have those writer's room jobs, and God bless that ecosystem. It's a beautiful thing. And I don't say that with any irony. I think it's wonderful. I just don't see more of it coming. I don't see that as a growth space. I would love to be wrong. Instead, I see more people that show up at the co-work space that I go to every week in Venice. I see people that are doing the whole thing. They're marketing themselves. They're creating, like people like Wesley Armstrong that we had on our Gen Talks this week. They are the complete package. And I'm not even calling it easy, by the way. I'm not saying, and then go take this easy pill of life. It's a different type of hard work. But when we talk about where does this technology, where does this AI fit in all this, it absolutely creates your toolkit to be able to be that creator that is running more like a business than a role player.
I think it's likely that we're going to see writers and and users, or creators and users, that is going to blend, while at the same time we're going to see like really intense auteurs. Like Neural Viz being an example of like just a person who's just like hyper focused on just their thing, doesn't want to take deals, just like, I'm just gonna do my thing. And AI enables you to do that more than ever. And it's very interesting that those two directions are gonna be true. At the same time that we're gonna see like the professional tools become more professional. Like the tools are going to get more and more intense and more granular over time. You're going to be able to like generate your character, move your character in space, move the camera maybe with your right hand, and move the character with your left hand. Like that kind of stuff I think is around the corner, honestly. While at the same time, there's going to be tools that all I need to do is write a sentence and a whole, 20-minute short's going to come. Like, it's weird that those two directions are happening at the same time, which is really, really fascinating. Who knows, honestly.
And I keep trying to learn from the past. Like, this is what Walt Disney figured out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Is that, and to keep quoting our friend Doug Shapiro, that thinks that it's possible all content is marketing. The actual thriving business is where, and by the way, they even did it with somebody else's IP, with Alice in Wonderland and Little Mermaid and other, wildly successful worlds, IPs, merchandise, theme park rides, all kinds of fun stuff that came from creating the full virtuous cycle of exploitation, of like starting with, like you say, we've now added gaming or these different iterations. But it is like, how do you own the whole ecosystem of commerce on an idea? And that's what I think creator economy is allowing people to have access to in different ways. I don't know if everybody's going to be as gigantic as Disney, but I see that happening with Mr. Beast. I see that happening with all kinds of like, successful YouTube creators, that they are the complete marketing, merchandising, experience economy, education business, all of that they own.
Fred, what you've just said is what is going to make writers incredibly valuable in this next world. And I'd like you to address that as also as a kind of a summing up of everything we've talked about.
I mean, I think you just said it. I think that is the point. And that's why I feel so bullishly about this, is that if writers choose, I'm not saying have to, again, if you can still be in that role-playing environment that makes you happy and that's where you thrive, then do it. And I say that with zero irony. But I think you now have the opportunity to think like the studio. You're not asking for permission to try to sell your project. You're not asking for permission. I mean, some people even will argue that today the creator model implies that you're marketing at inception. Like you're not waiting to complete your script and your film to start creating a marketing campaign. You're creating your audience on day one, which is what you might say NeuralViz is up to in terms of what his creator efforts are. He's creating his audience every week. He's iterating, he's trying stuff. So as somebody with a creative idea, you have this incredible ability to immediately start dictating the outcome, the project, and to sort of leverage the creator economy that YouTube and TikTok have fully established at this point. There's nothing speculative about what's going on in those settings. To think that that distribution network is now available to you, and you now have the ability to create worlds. Again, check off the boxes on doing it with copyright. Check off the boxes so that it doesn't train on your data. Do the work that is fully available to people that care about these details. But for your ability to take your idea, which most people don't have good ideas. And I don't mean to have any, we meet so many different types of creators. Some people are so good at executing, and that the type of commercial directors that give them a script and it'll be like the most beautiful thing in the world, but they actually don't do well coming up with an idea. They're not good at coming up with a world. To think that there's people in this community that you and Yoav have that is their superpower, that they literally just wake up every day with something amazing in their mind, to just not just have that in that one step of the process that then waits on a 100-year-old system that has benefited them, has created opportunities for them, but it isn't the only way to work anymore. I was at a dinner with a group of people last week that it was like a pretty interesting gathering. And there was a lot of established writers in that room. Frankly, a lot of people that use the time at that table to be frustrated about, oh, my agent isn't doing this, or my network exec, they always give me this really safe, conservative, risk-averse answer. And it's a bit of a broken record of the last 5 to 7 years of Hollywood.
Actually, 30.
But I'd say, but specifically post-streaming bubble, I'm just saying, like, it's a lot of people that got suddenly comfortable that this town was here to try stuff, to take little ideas and make them big. And that is what Hollywood is so wonderful about, is that this was a place that so many people, in spite of the nepotism, in spite of how toxic some of that culture was, it actually did create a farm of ideas. We're now in the retraction of that trend of how many ideas get out the door, how many ideas get to be big. And I was at a table where people were just stuck on this frustration. How come my agent can't do this for me? How come that network exec that said one thing did another? How come their boss is so afraid of everything? Everybody keeps like offloading the responsibility of why something isn't happening. Now, I can't guarantee that your idea will be as successful as a blockbuster film, but you will get it out there. You will get a chance to make it.
Yeah.
And I think that should be some version of interest for somebody with a good idea.
And just what you made me think is something that I think is very, very hard for writers. And it's now thinking from, I think it's related to responsibility. I've done the writing, and somebody will make it to a responsibility, but not only that, but to a user experience mindset. Like, I can now decide not only that I do it and I let people experience it, but there are different ways in which they can experience the same world, which is a very, very different mindset people can now start experimenting with that they never had really the chance to do.
I also think, like, I don't know. I don't know if writers will like this or not, honestly. But as a writer myself, I like it in that I want to be able to test different versions of the same story with my audience, right? I want to see if, should the main character die or not, or should the main character, and what the audience thinks of that. I want that. So I don't know if other writers want that, but I think that is very possible, right? Where I can use this social media world that Fred is talking about, and at the same time, I can, push, use all the AI creative architectures now to push these different, versions of a story or whatever to that audience. And so I wonder what that looks like when, back to, what does the interactive piece of that all look like,
Yeah. So I wrote a couple of choose your own adventure books back in the day. It is the single worst way to tell a story because it's really fun to interact with. It's fun to read them. But if you're trying to actually get the audience to a certain place, it's really hard. That said, if you embrace the model, Minh, I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, oh, you're going to create videos on TikTok and you have a conversation with the audience. And NeuroViz is a good example of this, but you could just say you created a short, it was 2.5 minutes long, you killed somebody in the short, one of the characters, the audience went crazy, and in the next one, you just bring them back. And you just go, I'm
Right.
not going to be precious about this. This is just, I have a world and a bunch of questions and a bunch of themes I'm talking about, and this will just be fun to just see how you like this, and that there isn't a kind of finished thing at the end here that you're building toward. You're just like, no, the fun is just playing. It's improvising. Yeah.
Or there is, or you improvised with the audience,
And then you end up
IndieWare
with
style,
something.
right? And then you're like, I'm going to turn this into a film,
Yeah.
right? A
Yep.
full feature film.
Yeah, it's either a
know?
test setting or it might even be the thing. I mean, look, YouTube with mostly unscripted talking head content, there's a lot of trends that YouTube has been fully established, and now the world of scripted is going to infuse it more because of the production stages of AI. But it has been A/B testing all along.
Yep.
So I'm saying that algorithmic instinct has already been improving user experiences in that setting. To think that it's not a user experience, to Yoav's point, I think it's there. I guess just to sort of dream out loud a little bit, and I'm less of a writer than everybody on this call, but I think about what is a type of experience that might be emerging. And Min has been a big fan of choose your own adventure ideas, and then maybe there's something to learn from your adventures, Fred Graver. But I think about Sleep No More, which is this play that's been a big deal in New York for a while. And ironically, there haven't been too many other iterations of it. I think people have tried it. It's not like it's the only immersive experience ever, but it's I don't hear people reference other Sleep No Mores at the level of Sleep No More. And if you've never seen Sleep No More, it's some kind of mashup of Lady Macbeth and a few other references. And they take over a warehouse in some part of New York that you as a user get to walk into. And everybody who's a user, an audience member, has a mask on. So everybody that's walking around this space is clearly identified as an audience member. And anybody who doesn't have a mask is an actor. And in general, your experience of this play is anytime you see somebody without a mask on, follow them. Something cool is going to happen. And if you don't want to do that, you can also just look through the drawers, open doors, there's surprises. It's a very immersive way to experience theater. In a choose your own adventure model, it kind of could just go infinitely and have no real ending. What I find interesting is, as a design of experience and storytelling, it does have an ending. For 4 floors of fun that you can walk this way, walk that way, follow this actor. And then when you exit the play, everybody's like, which part did you see? Which part did you see? Which of course gets you to come back and see the play a second, a third time, which is a pretty good business model. But again, what I find interesting is at some point around hour 2, the lights start to turn off in rooms. Actors all start moving in this direction. They eventually all end up in this one room over here. And everybody is back to a unified experience of experiencing the ending of the story. So I think to myself, okay, that's what they've done in real life. They've done that in a physical setting. That design of story, can we start to create world plus story, which is kind of what happens when you play Legend of Zelda on your Switch. You can do story mode. You can also spend a lot of time exploring. Can we start creating a version of The Sopranos that it will end over here, but my user experience is that I could sort of keep pushing the edges and checking generative possibilities, but as an arc, as an experience that if I watch this for 10 hours, that eventually, from a storytelling point of view, from a writer's point of view, from a world design point of view, it all guides me to this moment of finality. Just an idea that I think starts to mash up interactive content, gaming brain mindset, generative world building. I think something like that is what I think is coming.
All right. This was fabulous. Thank you so seriously. I can't thank you enough. This was fabulous. This was great.
You're the best, Fred. We're very lucky to call you.
Thanks, Fred.
Part of our
you're
community.
the
We love you
best.
guys.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that. Please leave your comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button is in one of these places. And our next conversation will be with Russell Palmer, the co-founder of the screenwriting platform Saga. Until next time, from Yoav and myself, remember, this is the only thing you should be doing in your free time other than writing. No other podcast, nothing else. You got free time, write, or listen to this podcast. That's it. All right? Just say it. See you next time.